Hello guys, welcome to part 3 of our unit on GI surgery. Before I move on with the lecture, I'd like to add a disclaimer that I do not own any of the pictures or illustrations I've used in this video. Now we're going to be talking about hiatus hernia. First off, what's an hiatus? In simple terms, hiatus is nothing but a hole. We all know that the diaphragm divides our thoracic and abdominal cavity, but some parts of organs in our body connect the two cavities via the diaphragm. So these parts pass the diaphragm via some holes, which we call the hiatus. The three main hiatus are the hiatus for the inferior vena cava, the hiatus for the esophagus, and the hiatus for the aorta. Here's a picture showing it clearly. Now a hernia is bulging of tissue or organs through the wall of the cavity in which it normally resides. So an hiatus hernia can be defined as abnormal protrusion of abdominal viscus through the esophageal hiatus into the chest. Now let's discuss pathology. Physiologically, what I want you guys to remember is whenever the diaphragm contracts, it decreases the diameter of the hiatus for the esophagus. Hence, it prevents reflux by doing so. So anything that would weaken the diaphragm would be a potential risk factor, such as aging, obesity, heavy lifting, straining, and pregnancy. Now, what these risk factors do is it makes it possible for the abdominal viscus to pass through the hiatus, hence resulting in hernia. Now, let's talk about classification of the condition. The hiatus hernia is classified into 4 types: type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. Let's talk about type 1. Now, normally, suppose this is the diaphragm and centrally this is the hiatus. And here we have the esophagus coming down. And we have this narrowing known as the gastroesophageal junction. And then the rest of the stomach, fundus. Now, what I want you guys to remember that when the esophagus passes through the hiatus, there are actually certain membranes which are coming out of the diaphragm and keeping the esophagus in place. These in green are the membranes which are keeping the esophagus in place. We call these membranes the phrenicoesophageal membrane, and they are responsible for keeping the esophagus in place when it passes through the hiatus. Now, in type 1 hiatal hernia, normally there's some sort of defect with this membrane, which now makes the esophagus mobile. So that would result in upward sliding of the esophagus. And now the gastroesophageal junction, which should normally be above the diaphragm, will now end up being I meant what the gastroesophageal junction, which is normally supposed to be below the diaphragm, will now end up being above the diaphragm. And this would impair the normal anti-reflux mechanism, which we talked about. So this would allow the reflux of gastric content out. So clinically, it would present as something which is similar to GERD. Now, in type 2 hiatal hernia, what happens is the gastroesophageal junction is below the diaphragm as it's supposed to be. But now the fundus has managed to protrude out of the hiatus parallel to the esophagus. And since it's parallel to the esophagus, we call such an hernia as paraesophageal hernia. Now, since the fundus is protruding out of the hiatus, it can result in ischemia, and we know that the stomach is well innervated, so it will present as abdominal pain. Another point to note is type 1 hernia is also known as sliding hernia, and type 2 hernia is also known as rolling hernia. Now let's talk about type 3. Type 3 is known as mixed paraesophageal hernia. Why? Because over here, along with the fundus, even the gastroesophageal junction is above the diaphragm, as shown here. So clinically, they'll present they'll present a mixed symptom of both type 1 and type 2. Now, type 4 hiatal hernia is the same as type 3, that is, it's a mixed paraesophageal hernia. The only thing is, along with the stomach, one additional organ is also protruding out. So, for example, it could be the bowel. So over here, it will present the same as type 3, but additionally, there is a risk for complications such as strangulation. That's it for classification. Now we'll be talking about investigation. The investigation of choice is a barium swallow. Since this is the first time I'm mentioning it, I'll talk a bit about it. A barium swallow is nothing but a specialized type of X-ray which helps us to take a closer look at whatever's behind the mouth and the throat. So in that case, through a barium swallow, we can have a better look at the esophagus, the stomach, and the duodenum. Here's an X-ray of barium swallow for a sliding hiatal hernia. As we can see above the diaphragm, the gastroesophageal junction right here. Now let's talk about management. As I previously discussed, that a sliding hiatal hernia presents quite similar to GERD. So even our treatment objective is quite similar to GERD. We firstly opt for conservative treatment for these patients. So the conservative medical management for type 1 hiatal hernia is the same as the medical management which we follow for GERD. Now, only if the medical management fails, we opt for surgery. And the surgery too is same as GERD, that is fundoplication. But for every hernia, we have to do 2 additional steps before any additional procedure which we are doing. That is, we have to reduce the hernia and close the defect. And in case of type 1, we also have to do fundoplication. Now for the rest of the types, we don't have to think about conservative treatment. The treatment of choice is surgery. We directly go for we directly opt for surgery, and the surgery is same, that is reduce the hernia and close the defect. Now the route of choice to do this is the abdominal route. And the approach of choice would be a laparoscopic approach. And that concludes this lecture. Thank you for watching.